Hello, I'm Betsy Abramson, a member of Temple Bethel, Madison's Reform Synagogue. I'm co-chair of the Racial Justice Action Team, and our team and all of Temple Bethel is participating in this very special week, Teach the Truth Wisconsin. Temple Bethel is located in the Dudgeon Monroe area of Madison, which is adjacent to the Nakoma neighborhood. And with me today are two long-standing residents of Nakoma, of the Nakoma neighborhood, Vic and Sue Levy, who have lived here over 35 years. They are active members of the Social Action Committee at Temple Bethel and want to tell us more about their life here in Nakoma and some of Nakoma's history. So, welcome, Vic and Sue, and thanks so much for sharing some of your research with us.
You know, we live in a nice neighborhood, really a nice community. It's very tight-knit. The neighbors are all close to each other, seem to be close to each other, know each other. There's a newsletter and there's a website, so you can always share tools or put things out on the curb if you don't want them. Tell each other where the turkey flock is that day or help with a missing cat or dog. But there's a dark side to all these neighborhoods, including ours, and most probably on the west side of Madison.
So when we went to move into Nakoma and sign our lease, one of the things that we discovered was that there was a clause on our deed that said no part of these premises shall ever be owned or occupied by any person of the Ethiopian race. And what we discovered as we looked into this awful thing was the history of Nakoma that wasn't so pleasant, but was shared by a whole lot of neighborhoods. Beginning in 1931, this restrictive covenant was added to all of the Nakoma deeds as a result of a petition that was signed by the then homeowners, a majority of whom wanted to protect their homes. And that included names that we still know, Elvium and Truex, who were leaders in the Madison area. Some folks who were in the neighborhood, like Rennebaum, didn't sign it. But it's a disturbing note that was on our deeds from very early on in the foundation of this first suburb of Madison. And as we looked into this, we discovered that these covenants that were entered into in lots of different neighborhoods, the one where I grew up in, said that prohibited both Ethiopians and Hebrews from living in the area, and that was in Minnesota. These were deliberate parts of a campaign by realtors and developers and homeowners to create segregated housing markets that preserved white property values and made home ownership virtually impossible for African Americans. And these restrictive covenants were part of a package that included redlining of mortgages and redlining of insurance and restrictions of GI loans so that that people of color just couldn't get housing, couldn't buy housing in any of the desirable areas of most cities throughout the country, including Madison.
And the neighborhood's responding to this, though, now.
Yeah, things have definitely changed. I mean, there was a Supreme Court ruling in 1947 that made such covenants unenforceable. And the Fair Housing Act of 1968 made them illegal. So by the time that we actually signed our deed and signed our title, we knew that this abhorrent clause was not enforceable and wasn't going to have any effect. And the Nakoma League itself, in just this year, stepped forward to make an official apology to the African Americans and the Native Americans that have been affected by Nakoma's past. They put a statement in their newsletter and on their website to both recognize the harm that has been caused and to recognize that this was a part of a pattern and practice enacted throughout this country that affected generations of African American families, and to acknowledge that we were built on the property of the Native peoples, the Winnebago, who came here before us, and really to stress that Nakoma is an open and welcoming neighborhood which values diversity and excludes no one. There's much work to be done as we strive toward equity and understanding. So I think that reflects really the current ethos of the neighborhood, that they really want to be a welcoming place. Certainly we found welcome here, but I think it's true that the neighborhood is changing and is much more open and welcoming and very